Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I am Siddharth Zarabi, and with me today is Mr. N. Ganapathy Subramaniam, the Chief Operating Officer at India's largest IT company, TCS. Thank you very much. I want to begin by talking about the latest set of numbers, and it's very clear that TCS has crossed a milestone of $7 billion revenue. Given all of that, how is the demand scenario looking to you in the period ahead?
It's been a very satisfying quarter for us, where we grew the business by about 13.6% year on year on constant currency terms. And we clocked in a total contract value of about $7.8 billion, which is again very broad based across industries. And $2.5 billion out of that is coming from banking financial services, which is our largest vertical. Overall, there is a good deal momentum, good pipeline opportunities that we see. In terms of markets, I think US and UK and rest of the world are looking all right, except Europe, where there is certain amount of cautious optimism that people, and especially in our customer base, are expressing. In the sense that, look, they want to probably conserve cash. They want to see how the winter, especially month of January and February, are going to be handled from an energy perspective, and making sure that the factories are kept running because the minute, some of the process industries, if you shut off, it's a 6 months before they can again get back to normalcy. So there are certain amount of caution that we see in Europe, but barring that, things are looking good. And technology is the response, whether you want to be efficient, whether you want to be looking at growth, whether you want to be creating experiential differentiation to your clients. So overall, I believe that the technology spend is going to remain secular and committed.
Would it be fair to assume from what you just told me that you feel that there will be a recovery in the European market 6 months down the line?
I certainly believe so. I think, as we speak, customers are pursuing those programs, but then at a slower pace. The decision making on large transformation programs is something that, they are delaying a bit. But then in terms of, being efficient, vendor consolidation or cost and optimization type of opportunities, they are advancing it. We don't see any issues with respect to that. So it's a really, growth, efficiency, innovation, all the three are important. And I think, it's a cycle that Europe is going through. And from my own perspective, I think come March, April, I think the situation will certainly ease up in Europe.
Okay, that's a good point. What about the challenges as far as pricing is concerned, not just Europe, but globally, because of the overall weakness that we are seeing at a macroeconomic level?
Pricing wise, as far as technology is concerned, there is a scarcity of skill sets. There's no doubt about it. Specifically in certain niche areas, like, if you are really good in data, machine learning, and how do you teach algorithms, those kind of skills are extremely critical skills to have. Likewise, cloud architects, architecting systems in the cloud for scale and performance is again a very important skill set. So there are certain skills that you are looking at which are going to be pricey, which are going to be, you will command a premium, no doubt about it. But in our business, what we do is that we have a very long-standing relationship with customers with whom we work on old technologies, new technologies. There are efficiency-related things. There are innovation-led projects. There are growth-related projects. So it's a combination. So as a combination, we believe that we have the right price for the right value that we are delivering, and we are happy with where we are, by commanding premium where it is required. At the same time, wherever we have to disrupt ourselves, we keep disrupting ourselves and deliver that extra kicker for the customers.
What is the outlook as far as margins are concerned?
Margins are concerned, we improved our operating margin by about 50 basis points sequentially from Q2 to Q3. And we are staying focused to improve the margins further from where we are. And then as a first goal, we want to be where we were last financial year to get to about 25% in the coming quarter. And then from there on, see how we could improve further.
We spoke about manpower in a sideways mention, but it seems from the numbers that I'm looking at that attrition levels have come down, but not very significantly. Where do you see attrition from here on?
Yeah, see, attrition quarter on quarter, there is a reduction, no doubt about it. In absolute numbers, we are seeing that it is tapering down. And I think while we report the last 12 months on a LTM basis, if I really look at quarterly annualized attrition numbers, it has really come down by 6 percentage points already. So from where I see things, in the next 1 or 2 quarters, attrition should stabilize, the numbers should stabilize, and we should be back to the pre-pandemic level that we used to enjoy, and that should augur well for the industry as well as for TCS. In terms of
go ahead, please.
Yeah, in terms of the overall headcount as well, that while we reported a net headcount drop of about 2,000 plus people quarter on quarter basis, but if you really look at a year-on-year basis, we have grown the employee base by about 55,000 plus people, right? What we did was, when there was a huge amount of volatility in the skill sets and people were changing jobs, and demand for technology skills were very high. Last year, we hired really 100,000 plus freshers. So we took an approach of hiring fresh and then training them and coaching them with about 125,000 plus people who have been with us, who are 10 years plus. And that mix is something that's working for us and it's paying off. And that explains the reason why, even though the attrition was there in this quarter and then it's tapering down all right, but then it resulted in a net headcount drop of 2,000 people quarter on quarter. But overall, our demand and supply side, we managed it very well, and our strategy is paying off.
What's the strategy as far as headcount management is concerned for the next fiscal?
See, we typically hire about 40,000 people from the campuses, and I think that is pretty much intact. And we are going to be hiring about 40,000 people from the campus, from the campus freshers. And among with laterals and things like that, we typically add about 100 to 100 anywhere between 100 to 125,000 people in a year, depending upon the demand that we see. And I think our own plans are that it will remain in the same range.
I also want to talk about the overall expectations when it comes to your growth going ahead. If we were to assume that some large deals that normally would come through in a financial year may not come through on account of weaknesses, for example, in Europe, what's the outlook as far as growth is concerned?
I think, you're right. If the large deals do not come through as we originally envisaged, then, that's something of a concern that we need to mitigate. Absolutely. But then if you really look at what we have been clocking as an average deal, every deal sizes that anywhere between $7 to $8 billion worth of contracts that we have been signing over several quarters. All these are multi-year contracts, right? So in some of these contracts, typically, we have started to execute and make revenue for the first year, right? So for the next year and the year following, but typically these are 3 to 5 year or sometime even longer term contracts, right? So those should do well for us in the short term, let's say in coming financial year, right? And beyond. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that any aberrations that we see in one vertical or one geography in terms of large deal closures and mitigate it with deal wins in rest of the geographies and rest of the verticals. And I think, that's where I articulated that the deal pipeline that we see, the qualified pipeline that we see, consists of both mid-sized and large-sized deals, and we don't see any reason that all of them will go away.
So, if I were to sort of say that the management and you are basically saying that your aspiration for double-digit growth remains, but only in the medium to long term, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think we are, as a management team, we are focused on growing the business in double-digit terms. The only way I will also say is that our market share today at about $7 billion run rate per quarter is about little over about 4%. So there is enough headroom for us to take market share and grow our business in the technology services segment, right? And
please continue.
In addition, we have a good products and platforms portfolio, which are all moving towards cloud and SaaS-based offerings, which is actually booking annual recurring revenues, which are also going to provide the non-linearity that we seek in our business.
Mr. Subramaniam, as we wind down this conversation, I also wanted a couple of comments from you. One, overall, the domestic IT story in terms of some of the large projects and the digital transformation that we have been seeing. It's a new calendar year that when we are talking, what do you have to say about that? And then also in terms of expectations from the union budget, which is 2 or 3 weeks away, what do you expect from that as well?
Overall, I think India has done well. The digital India stack is powering the economic growth in India. Many financial institutions and other verticals are investing in technologies. And they have adopted, for example, the India payments story. The UPI is a benchmark today. The Aadhaar implementation, the whole KYC implementation around Aadhaar, they're all benchmarks for the rest of the world. So many conversations that we have in developed markets, they're all asking, how did you guys manage to do it in India? Can you replicate that in our country? Those kind of conversations are happening, right? As I see it, India will really look at embracing more automation, more machine learning and intelligence that will structure the model for new business models in India. As far as budgets are concerned, I think, the way I see it is in our conversations with the global client base, everyone talks about India being a vibrant economy, India being an alternative destination for manufacturing, and it's becoming reality. I think many people are setting up shops, setting up opportunities to create joint ventures in India to manufacture for India and for exporting out of India. Segments like electronic manufacturing, segments like telecom equipment manufacturing, they're all very, very apt, and primarily because many of these are going to be driven by software, right? The day of proprietary hardware is gone, and most of them are going to be taking the cloud approach, commodity hardware, on which differentiation will come through software. So I think the budget should really give a boost to domestic manufacturing segment and encourage investments and sufficient breaks and incentives in addition to the PLI, or clarify PLI kind of policies a lot more, right? We have a government which is really progressive, and the policies are leaning forward, and I think the budget should continue that trend.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing your comments about the latest quarterly performance and the outlook as far as your company is concerned. Thank you very much for your time with us today.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.